much time is she dedicated to this?
So she's going to wait until the beginning of the fiscal year for the Army, which is November 1st. Where they'll have the function. So she just said,
We're good, Dr. Hooker.
Okay. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Eichholz?
Here.
Dr. Hooker?
Here.
Mrs. Johnson?
Here.
Mrs. Lewis? Here. Mrs. Singh?
Here.
I'd entertain a motion to adopt both the regular meeting agenda and the addendum.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'd also entertain a motion to go into executive session in accordance with OCR 121.22 to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, and compensation of a public employee or official, ORC 121.22 G4, preparing for conducting or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment, and ORC 121.22 G5, matters required to be kept confidential by federal law, rules, and state statutes. All those in favor? Aye. I don't think we need any of this stuff. We can just leave all the computers here, right? Is someone going to still
A, B, C. And
want us to, would that help?
just say something.
Something.
Hey, okay.
You have something, that work. You got it? Okay.
We're returning from executive session, and we are refilling this for people that can't attend, so that's what we were waiting on for that to get going. And we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Konecki, do we have some correspondence recognition and announcements?
Yes, welcome back, everybody. It's nice to see everybody here in person. This is our first live board meeting in a while, so welcome back. We have some celebrations to start off with this evening. First of all, I'd like to announce that the Indian Hill High School District would like to congratulate our juniors, Claire Hardick and Kate McGrath, for each earning scholarships in the Nancy F. Walker Memorial Scholarship Competition for classical, instrumental, and vocal students, presented by Matinee Musicale Cincinnati. Claire was awarded a $4,000 scholarship for her vocal skills, and Kate was awarded a $1,000 scholarship for her talents on the harp. Congratulations to those students. Next up, Indian Hill High School celebrated students who are planning for futures in the arts and military during the debut Arts and Military signing ceremony, Wednesday, May 19th, as we concluded our school year. Those students included Connor Gallagher, Riley Grace, Annie Hovey, Nikki Code, and John Cushman on site, and Grace Lewis. Congratulations. Next, we'd like to congratulate our Indian Hill High School mock trial team. Students Aubrey Bristol, Tacey Hutton, Ethan Marks, Sydney Poffenberger, and Brooke Youngblood for earning the title of the 2021 Mock-On Mock Trial National Champions. This was the first of its kind nationally, and they beat out teams from 7 other states. And for those of you who follow our mock trial team, they had another amazing run this year. We're also pleased to announce that for the second consecutive year, our Project Lead the Way program has been recognized at Indian Hill High School as a distinguished school. This is a STEM award for science, technology, engineering, and math learning that takes place through our program that we share with the Great Oaks. Indian Hill High School is one of only 204 high school programs nationally to receive this distinction. We're also proud that for the first time, the district was recently awarded the Project Lead the Way Community Celebration Award for our outreach programs with our community partners that promote STEM solutions for both local and global issues, including Procter & Gamble here locally. So congratulations to our schools. Our district wants to congratulate the varsity boys tennis team. They did not get a season, as you would recall, a year ago due to the pandemic, but this year they came back strong and finished as the runners-up in the state for team tennis for 2021. So congratulations to all of our tennis athletes. They had an amazing year. The state runner-up team included Sanuka Abasing, Jasper Bennett, Ishan Gandhi, Jai Masturzo, Tejas Bazadi, R.J. Poffenberger, Jack Pollock, and Sam Rode. Congratulations to all of our athletes. And Indian Hill would like to congratulate our competitive writing team at IHHS for participating in the Just Right State Competition for Creative Writing at the end of May, on May 22nd. The IHHS team of writers included Hannah Kramer, Mariah Knapp, Joy On, Grace Wong, and Elsa Zhao. Elsa Zhao earned first place writer for Division I, and the IHHS team earned third place for Division I overall in an exclusive writing competition, so congratulations. So those are our celebrations of our students tonight, and
And you said to turn your mic on.
we're very excited to have. Sorry. We're very excited to have 2 presentations tonight, and first off, as many of you know, we have over the past 3 years met some. Let's just turn it on. We've had some goals and objectives that we've been meeting as a part of our GOLD strategic plan. We came to a natural point in time this year where that plan is kind of being wrapped up and celebrated. Much of that was shared with our brave return to school document this spring. And this evening, we're very excited to announce our new public strategic planning process that will begin in earnest this summer and through the fall months. And so I'm going to turn it over and not steal too much thunder from Dr. Stewart here, but we're going to have a little bit of a presentation and a high-level overview of that strategic planning process tonight, and then we'll share some more with you. Board members, if you'd like to come to the front here, and we'll find chance for you to see the presentation. We can bring some chairs around. Careful.
Did say careful.
Thank you.
Yes. I've been known to do it once or twice too. All right. Thank you.
All right, Kelly, are you there?
We are.
All right, so I want to start by saying how nice it is to see everybody face to face without masks on in the same room. I feel like it's such a pleasure to be here tonight. And I also want to start by introducing our partners. When we started to be able to think about the following year, it would have been very easy for Indian Hill to say, let's just think about coming back to school, but we didn't want to do that. We wanted to think out in advance and say, what do we want the future of teaching and learning to look like? And it meant that there was hard work that we did with lots of committee meetings, and it would have been easy to not do that and just kind of glide through the end of the year. But instead, it was a great opportunity for us to say, what really worked for us pre-COVID, what worked for us during COVID, and what do we want our future to look like? So, with Mr. Konecki's permission, we started to do a miniature plan for teaching and learning that would guide us into the future. And we had some partners. So you'll see on the screen, I'd like to introduce Kelly. Say hi, Kelly.
Hey everyone, good evening. I'm Kelly Frey.
And we also have Megan.
Good evening, everyone. It's nice to be here with you.
So they're from an educational organization called Education Elements, and they came in and partnered with us, and we were so pleased to have them because it allowed all of our administrators, staff members to sit back and be part of the process versus having to lead the process ourselves. So we're so excited to share with you. Part of it is we wanted to have a guiding vision that would determine how we would make all of our decisions. So it's up there for you to kind of read. I won't read it to you. And this will be really helpful for us when we're making all these decisions. And we've already started to use this when we're working with our wonderful partners to think about building the entire middle school. And we're saying the decisions that we make have to support this. If they don't, then we're going in the wrong direction, and let's rethink it. We want to be very thoughtful for the decisions we're making in a new building. So next you'll see, we started in March, and we started by just gathering a lot of information from a lot of different stakeholders. We met with parents, community members, teachers, students, and all of the visuals that you see are all different types of data points that we shared, and we had staff members react to those to say, what new things did we learn based on the information that people are giving us? Then the fun things started to happen in May when we really looked at it, and I'm really proud of the feedback that we received. More than 1,800 people responded to surveys. We had 7 focus groups where we had people come in and actually have qualitative conversations about what was working and what they'd like to see in school. And finally, we had 23 very consistent staff members ranging from superintendent to principals to teachers to educational aides that guided us through this entire process. And as a result, we have 3 big areas that we are so proud to be focused on in the future. And those are learners as doers, learners as individuals, and learners as the whole child. We spend a lot of time crafting definitions so that we have common language for us moving forward. And again, as we think about what will happen for the future of Indian Hill, we always want to go back and to say, how is this decision supporting individuals as doers, learners as individuals, or learners as the whole child? And I don't know that we've ever had this type of focus, and so we're really excited for what this means K through 12 for us to be able to move forward. In each area, we spent some time talking about what would that mean to be a learner as doer. We want it to be as transparent as possible. So you'll see there's 2 initiatives for each one. For example, in learners as doers is authentic learning experiences, and a student agency. When we start talking with the staff to say, well, what does that mean, authentic learning experiences? We have some potential programs and methods that are there just to get people kind of started. It will probably look very different in a kindergarten classroom than it will with the seniors who might be in an AP classroom, but this is some ideas to get them to start thinking about how is each building going to be responsible for building authentic learning experiences and student agency. We did the same process as learners as individuals, which includes knowledge of each student and data literate instruction. And for learners as whole child, which includes relationships and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And from here, I'd like to have our partners talk a little bit about the process that they used and the process they would like to use moving forward.
Thanks, Melissa. Well, Megan and I are incredibly grateful to be in this space today. I think Melissa, we can confidently say this is the second time we've been able to pull off a virtual meeting in this type of space, not seeing the audience. I'm confident we can do it tonight. With that being said, wanted to just share what we believe as an organization at Education Element. So what you'll see on the screen right now, and Megan and I truly believe this in the work that we do, and when we wake up in the morning, really the goal, how we live this out even through the mini strategic plan for teaching and learning, is really to get as many perspectives in and really think about how does this plan, how do we do this with and not for the community. And so as we think about that, Melissa shared a few slides earlier how we were able to be really strategic about how we were engaging stakeholders in the process. I know in conversations we always say stakeholders need to be highly engaged in the feedback process and the design. And so we're hopeful in the next slide, in the next few slides, we'll be able to share how we see this playing out with the district-wide strategic plan and how we can really include that buy-in as we invest people and create along the way. I think the third piece that Megan and I truly believe as we do this work with district partners across the country is how we really prioritize the work in sprints. So when you get a chance in a few minutes to look at the map, you're going to say, wow, that's a lot of work we're going to accomplish in 4 months. And it is really strategic in the sense that we want to prioritize this work in sprints so that we're able to pivot along the way and be really responsive. I think if there's anything we've all learned from the last 18 months, is we have to be responsive to the current environment and what our students truly need to feel successful. And then the fourth thing we truly believe in when we engage with district partners is how can we clearly and consistently communicate the work that's happening. And so our hope is tonight is one testimony of how we're sharing the work along the way, but that's really important as we continue to think about the work moving ahead. So with that said, Melissa, I'm assuming you're clicking the next slide. All right, perfect. Megan and I wanted to be really transparent around the teaching and learning strategic plan that we just wrapped up some of the language with, and just share a roadmap of where that's going. So you're gonna actually get to see, like, fresh off the press, I would say like in the last 24 hours, the first version of some of the deliverables for the internal work that we'll be doing. But what you can notice is that that work is not done yet. So in conversations, what we're really going to be focused in on with that teaching and learning plan coming up is now getting everyone on board when we come back together in August and really thinking about then as a district in September, how do we roll this work out beyond just that steering team that was involved in it. So as we go to the next slide, you'll see these are our first versions. Really, I think the most magical part about this is the ability to be able to work with your team and really try to replicate the spirit that is on your website and the marketing materials you all already lead. And so wanted to share, these are two different versions. Right now, I would say we as a team collectively are in the first iteration of feedback, but really felt like it was important, as we say, this is an iterative process to show you some of those current products that we have coming out of the conversations this past few months. With that being said, Megan, I'm going to turn it over to you to share just high level some of the work when we think about what this could look like overall as a district.
Thank you, Kelly. Melissa, I think we might be on the timeline slide now. Am I correct? Yay. So as Kelly foretold, you look at this and you think this is an awful lot to do in this amount of time. And we recognize this is a really difficult slide to read, but we wanted to articulate all the work that will be happening. And you can see we've got it divided into several phases. So the first is that plan and align phase, and that's when we kick off the work. We start engaging in some community focus groups. We have a stakeholder engagement webinar, and there's some in-person work that sort of takes us into the next foundations phase, and that's our visioning session. The foundations phase is going to be all about prioritization, visioning, and then making some plans. And that will take us into the design and launch phase, which is when we're going to take all of the information that we've gotten from that plan and align phase and the direction we've determined in the foundations phase and start putting together the design of the strategic plan. This all is going to be happening over the next 4 months. So we'll be wrapping up in October. And on this slide, you can also see we have kind of color-coded that we've got a set of deliverables for each of these phases. So you can anticipate that we'll have executive summaries to bring back to you to share out what's happened in each of the phases at the completion of each phase.
And I would say one other thing to just note on the slide, I think you might have switched over. I'm just guessing, Melissa, right now, but I feel like based on nonverbal cues, Megan and I are figuring it out. Wanted to just name the last column where you'll see the little 3 tallies. I know that the district team has been really thoughtful around when we want to finalize some of this stuff and bring it back to the board meeting. So you'll notice the November 11th, December 9th, and then December 14th board meetings, just as important dates that we're using as milestones as we think about this work.
Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah.
I think if we are moving to the next slide now, the next slide that we've prepared, it gives you sort of an overview of the governance for this plan. And Kelly, I will let you go ahead and walk us through this.
Perfect. So this is modeled very closely to the work that we did with the mini strategic plan for teaching and learning this past spring. So what you'll notice is we've got this project governance, one, so that we can continue to move the work forward and also be really transparent around what those accountabilities are, being a part of these groups. So you'll notice the project sponsor, we always consider that as someone that's going to approve the project roadmap, really be the one that signs off on those major deliverables. Typically, this is the superintendent. In Melissa's case, she served as the person, the project sponsor that did the teaching and learning. That was the project sponsor for us this past 4 months. That being said, then what you'll notice is the project team. So these are the 3 to 4 lucky individuals that get to meet with Megan and I weekly, where we really are able to think through not only logistics, but really around that communication. So we anticipate that things are going to come up through conversations. And this is a space where we're able to strategize and get very aligned so that we can bring that forth with the best proposal to you all of how we should move the work forward. As part of that, what you'll notice is the steering team. So as Melissa shared a few minutes ago, that was the 23 reps that we had across all 4 campuses. The steering team for a district-wide strategic plan, we typically say up to 20 people. We know that we might stretch that number a little bit, but we want to give a number so that people at least have a sense of, we want people in the room that are able to really help move the work forward, but also have the community members be a part of that. So we always say the decision maker, a steering team needs to be people that can make those decisions and can really represent the whole community within Indian Hill. You'll notice in the last 2 governance levels are the planning team and the advisors, which play very important roles. We recognize that people want to be involved in the design process, but they might not be able to commit, as Melissa shared earlier, the amount of time that we had this past spring. And so want to give people the opportunity with the planning team. So those people would be involved in some of the stakeholder community events that we're hoping to plan, along with that, provide really clear recommendations for the steering team as we think about the focus areas and initiatives we want to bring in to the community. So we typically say that's about 30 people per session, just because we want everyone to have a really clear role as they participate in those conversations. And then the advisors, I consider these as people that continue to provide context, perspective, feedback, and ideas. This number can vary depending on the size of what you all determine as a district, but we definitely recommend this as a space where we can bring in board members along with that, other reps, whether it's teacher leaders, PTO, PTA leaders. We've had union reps. It's really important that we have those individuals, as we say, as the advisors, really helping to guide some of that work along the way. So I'll pause there. We've got one more slide because the question might be, how do I get involved? And so Megan and I wanted to be able to articulate that, but wanted to just read the room. Melissa, if anyone has questions right now, or if we can share the next piece.
You're doing a great job doing this without seeing anything. I don't know how you're pulling it off.
All right, the last one, Meg, do you want to take it away?
Yes, I would love to. So this last slide is our sort of, what is it? It's our decision tree. This shows how we would go. This would be a suggested way that we might go through the process of inviting people to participate in various levels of that sort of governance structure, or just to offer their input. When we're doing something like a strategic plan and we're doing it with the intent that we're doing it, that we are including all perspectives in the community, we want to make sure that our approach to incorporating people at various levels of governance is fair. So this is an example of, this just would sort of walk you through a form that we've created an example of that you can click through if you're bored later, and you can get it off the slide. But what the first question that would be offered to the people who are responding to this form is, what level of involvement would you like to have in the planning process? And for some, they might just say, I'd like my feelings and thoughts known and counted. For those people, we would put them in the category of people that we would maybe send a survey to if they would like to just respond to a survey and not have their names attached to their responses. Or if they would like to come to a focus group, they could choose to participate in a focus group, basically to put their name in a pool of people that would be invited to participate in a focus group. And when we start the plan and align process, we can have conversations about, what does a representative sample look like? Is that going to be pulling people from different schools? Is it going to be pulling people from different relationships with the district? So we'll determine that and then get a representative sample within each of the focus groups. At the other end of the branch, our first fork in the road there is, I would like to help create an approach. Those are the people who are going to be invited to be on the steering team, the planning team, or as advisors. And the determination there is going to be really, how much time do you have to devote to this? This also sort of clearly articulates what the commitment might be if you're interested in participating in that level. And once we get that clearly articulated, then we also have a pool of people that we can pull from to then invite to participate in these different groups.
Thank you. I'd like to ask the board members if they have any questions.
Well, just a clarification. Way back at the beginning, caregivers.
Caregivers are another name for parents, families, community members.
Okay.
I think for me personally, and I think for probably community members, I assume we're going to attach this as a hyperlink in the agenda so that people can look at this presentation.
Yes.
That would be great. And number two, and Nancy, you're probably more adept with all this stuff than I am. I mean, before we had, the board basically did all of this with community input. I mean, we had meetings, we had all-day meetings with strategic planning.
Well, we were involved in the entire process
Right.
with the leadership
So it seems like we're shifting how we're doing this. I like having more community involvement. Any thoughts on that from somebody that's done this a lot?
Yeah, I think given the direction that this is taking, and I love that it's very student-focused, and I think that's something that the current plan lacks a little bit. I think it's wise to have a heavier emphasis on the staff, the leadership, and the parents and students. And I think really it's, as far as the board being involved, it's how much do we want to be involved, how much time do we have. And you got to remember, if you have too many of us in the room, it's a public meeting, which, that's just which we have to cross. So
I think, to me, it seems like a better way to do this, and we'll have to, as a board, decide who is going to kind of take the lead, or the 1 to 2 members that are working on it a lot. So it seems very good. Other questions from board members at all?
I just have a quick question: is how are students being part of this process? Like,
I'll take that if that's okay. Dr. Stewart and I, along with Ms. Leichholz and Kelly and Megan, have talked about this from day one. So when you see this decision tree, this will be produced and presented not just to teachers, but also to students and parents and community stakeholders of all sorts. And students has always been at the center of this planning process. In fact, we've already gathered some feedback from students, and we're going to continue to do that as we move along. And that was one of the expectations that we communicated up front. So whether it's a focus session or a survey or having them serve as an advisor or a planning team member, students will be a part of this process because it's integral to their work and their world as we move forward. And I'd just like to say, going along with Dr. Hooker's comments as we kind of finish up here, a lot of credit to Kelly and Megan, and again, Dr. Stewart and the team of staff that have already worked on this part of the plan. This is a part of where we were, and where we're heading now is to shift into this area that Megan shared about an all call for the community. We want to make sure that this is transparent to all. We want to make sure that there's input at intervals. We want to make sure that we're being responsive as a district as we go through the process, and we want this to be fun. I just want to make sure everybody knows we want this to be fun as we go through the next 6 months. And so we'll be putting this all call out to the community in August for participation, and then we'll be looking forward to see who wants to give a certain level of commitment of time back to us as we move through. That input series will go all the way through October, as you've seen, and into an iteration of a draft and presentations before the board before we finalize this when we get to December. So we're very excited. This is not going to be a quick process, but it will be efficient, and we will have lots of intervals for input, and we're very excited about that. And again, I want to thank Kelly and Megan for joining us remotely from all across the country, and Ms. Leichholz for helping us to get ready, and Dr. Stewart for all the work that went into this with the steering team thus far.
Yeah, well, my concern is how are you going to make this all call out to the community so that everyone is aware of this?
We're going to be using all of our communication channels.
can we also use the past students who have already graduated from Union Hill, using their experiences, like what they think going to college that is lacking, that they would like to see for the future grade?
We would love that.
Yeah, I think that is very important because they have to go through the system and they know.
I agree.
Wonderful. Do we have a second presentation?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So if nobody has any other questions, we'll let our guest from the electronic world disappear, and we'll switch gears. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Stewart. Next up, we'll transition here. And while we're waiting, we have our operations team, and Mr. Nichols, I'll let you get us started and do introductions when you're all ready.
All right.
Well, and I'm getting feedback from our electronic voodoos that if we can use mics, it's really not transmitting well to the thing. So if there's a possibility on this, if you can use a mic, I think it would be appreciated. Thank you.
But I think you need this.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Jim Nichols, Director of Operations for the school district, and our campus is buzzing right now. We have got a lot going on, and we've got some of our team here tonight. I'm going to introduce them in just a second, but I wanted to give you just a couple of quick highlights. As you might see outside, we've got a bit of a modular village going on out there, and it's smaller today than it was yesterday because we're moving those slowly around the back of the building, and they're going to be putting those together, and by the end of July, we will have a school. So we're working hard on getting that done. We also started our move this week. They moved most materials to the elementary school over the last couple of days. Kudos to our middle school teachers, staff, and administration. They did an excellent job of getting things organized and making sure we were taking the right things to the right place. We got that compliment from the movers who do this every day. So kudos to our staff for doing that. And finally, our facilities team is knocking it out of the ballpark as they get some spaces ready that have not been classrooms in the past. So we are finalizing that. We're about 70% done creating those spaces, and we'll be fully ready when they're done. So I am going to first introduce Mike Mendenhall in just a second. And Mike, I don't know if you want to come sit next to me for a minute, and that way you can use this mic, and we'll have your team maybe stand up here in front because they'll be able to be on the camera. But Mike is our owner's agent, and he represents the school district in all conversations that have to do with our construction project. And so he's brought his team with him, so I'm going to let him introduce his folks if they want to stand up.
Thanks, Jim. It was, I believe, a good idea to bring my staff tonight since it was our first in-person meeting. I've seen everybody on video, but since we're now live, I thought it would be good to bring a few of the staff that'll be involved in this project in some capacity. I call your name, just stand up and wave to everybody. In the back is Jason Urich. He's the CFO. He will be working with Kimberly Napper, who was unable to make it. She had a previous commitment. So they'll be doing the financial tracking. They'll be working with the budgets and monthly reconciliation, primarily working very closely with Mr. Davis back there. In the middle is Justin Mendenhall. I don't know where he came from, but he is our CIO. He works a lot with our website. He developed our website. He'll be working with the district if there are needs here on communication. If we need to push information out, we're here to help in any way, and obviously with his help doing that. And next is Kyle Urich. Kyle Urich is a project manager, recently joined us. And the one in the front is Nick Corcoran. He is a project manager as well. And the young lady beside Dr. Hooker is first day on the job. She is Zoe Barnes, and she is an intern with MCS. She's an engineering program at the University of Wisconsin, correct, Zoe? Platteville, so I'm sorry. So that is our team minus Kimberly Napper, who will you may see around the project, and we'll be involved, and we're here to help in any way possible. We will be working for you, but more importantly, we're going to be working very closely with Skanska and MSA and helping them in any ways we can as well.
Mike, what you just say for the people that are watching that don't necessarily know an owner's agent, one sentence or two, your job, why we hired you, what's your purpose?
Our purpose of being here is to serve as an advocate, to work closely with the other project teams, Skanska and MSA. We will be heavily involved in the finance piece, the project management. We will attend core team meetings, weekly progress meetings. We will walk the job site. We will be taking photographs. We'll keep a project file and or any other reasons that the district would need our services. We're here to help.
Thanks, Mike. We appreciate that. And at this point, I'm going to introduce some other partners. We have Amy Benetti and Chris Paytek from MSA. They are our architect partners, and they're going to be giving a kind of a high-level overview of some things going on with the project. And we also have Pete Becker here this evening from Skanska Construction, our construction partner. So I'm going to turn it over to them, and I'm going to step out of the way here.
it on? Am I live? All right. I'm happy to be here this evening in person, as was mentioned. It's actually really exciting to see a lot of things that Melissa was talking about. Our team has had a chance to also participate in a lot of those meetings as well, and looking at how we ensure that the designs moving forward also align with and support a lot of the efforts that Melissa and her group have been doing, as well as the rest of the community. And so one thing I'll touch on here, and if we can get some visuals, we'll try to. If not, we'll kind of talk through it. But as we mentioned, really over the past several months, since the bond levies passed, and even prior to that, meeting with a lot of different stakeholder groups, looking at how we can make sure that the programs and the elements that go into these projects are aligning with the needs of the school district, and that's been a very important piece. As far as schedule and timeline, and we'll have kind of Pete touch on this here a little bit more detail. As far as the design part of it goes, really, as mentioned, starting in April and May, and working through really the first part of next year on the design process. As I mentioned, over the last couple months, it's been mostly looking at program and the different elements that go in the building. But as we move forward, we'll also be starting to look at how these buildings might take shape and the form and the overall appearance of the facilities as we get into the fall, and then ultimately into the first part of next year, trying to finalize some of the different project scopes. As far as construction goes, I'm going to have Pete kind of touch on a little bit where we are with some of the things that his group has been doing with Skanska, and kind of what that's going to look like here over the next couple of months.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Tag team.
We're tag teaming while we're working through some the better looking great pictures that are further in the presentation. My name is Pete Becker. I head up our K-12 construction group with Skanska USA Building. We're super excited to be part of this tonight. Later in the evening, there's a GMP #1, which is a guaranteed price we'll talk about a little bit later, but that means we're really close to starting work. And so real quick, high level, this July we're going to start the make ready work. Is go ahead and click to the next slide, which is basically rerouting the electric that comes through the middle school, the fiber optics, all the fire alarm, because we can't really tear that down, the middle school down, until we get all this make ready work done for electrical, fire alarm, technology, and HVAC. That starts in July. Then right after that, that'll go through a few months, and then basically abatement and demolition will start back in August of 21. The goal is to have like a little celebration. We'll call it a groundbreaking kind of, or building demolition celebration when the kids are back in. That way they can be part of that. The staff, students, and the community can be part of that, so we're excited at that. That'll go through probably the end of October, and then that will be another GMP that'll come through in July. And then come November, we would hope to be in a position for the early site package to start moving dirt after the building's demolished, to get ready for the foundations and stuff to start. Right now, anticipation is that the foundations will start in March. We still have a lot of work to do, working through budgets and reconciliations and user groups with Mike and Amy and or Chris and Mike and the teams and the district. And at the end of the day, we're going to hope break ground in March, and about 16 to 17 months later, we'll be finished with the building in the summer of 23. High school pretty much is going to have 2 core summers. First summer is going to be the June of 22, where we go into core areas that kids can't really be in while we're working. So usually that's the June, July, August kind of time frame, and then we break away and we come back in the second summer of 2023, we'll finish up the second core piece of work and probably fill in some gaps in between. Elementary school work starts in June of 22. Per plan, we're right on track. We start building the additions. Once the additions are up in about 12 months, we'll have the additions done for the new area with the music and the arts and all, and the athletics. Basically, then we'll come over, abate, demolish the Sawtooth area, and then finish out the parking lot in the summer of 23. Primary school, similar to the high school, we're going to start that work in June of 22. Once again, we're going to do some core area work, media center work, the existing media center, the new entrance, do some work in the auditorium, and as much as we can in some bathroom groups, etc.
And then in the second summer of 23, we'll come in and finish out the cafeteria. You know, that's a wonderful cafeteria that hopefully we'll be able to really make it look good within the summer of 23. And then basically fill in work in between those 9 months between the school year. All in all, it all wraps up in the summer of 23, and we're excited and extremely confident in the project schedule right now. And that's it. We'll turn it over to the pretty pictures because that stuff's boring.
Now we have a little bit. So with that, again, just want to touch at a really high level on some of the design that's been going on over the last couple months. We got a few just base level plans we want to share with the group this evening. The slide that you see in front of you right now is really a recap. Again, a lot of the things I think it aligns well with what Melissa was talking about when we talk about education and learning in the district and what makes Indian Hill such a special place and unique in so many different ways. And so, again, as we move forward, making sure that we take these things into consideration, looking at students and teachers and community and all the programming that happens here to make sure that the new projects can help support that, enhance it, and make it grow even further. So if you go to the next one, for the middle school, you know, right now we're really getting into, as I mentioned, the building's starting to take some shape. We're getting closer to really identifying a lot of different kinds of programs and spaces that'll be in the middle school. These are still very preliminary. You know, the design's not finalized, even though, as Pete mentioned, you know, things are happening on the site. There's still a lot of work to do on the design side, as you saw that timeline that goes well into the fall and even into early next year. So a lot of work that still needs to happen with these projects in the middle school in particular. One area that we're really excited about, I think that we've been spending a lot of time and getting a lot of good feedback from, are these neighborhood spaces. So a core part of the middle school, if you go to the next slide, Aim, we're basically developing a place that right now we're calling the neighborhood for each of the grades in the middle school. So all 3 grades would have their own kind of unique space that they spend a good part of their day and a lot of their core academic classes, so math, science, English, social studies, and some of those particular programs. And so we're developing these spaces, as this starts to show, it's a cluster of classrooms around a common area, and making these areas where they start to become opportunities for a lot of different kinds of learning and education to happen. So this would be one part of the project, and again, there's 3 of these. You can see that the green areas in the middle become those community spaces, interaction, collaboration, STEM spaces, access to outdoor. There's been a big emphasis from a lot of the groups we meet with, you know, making sure we can take advantage of the outdoor space around the campus, support spaces and outdoor learning spaces, core areas, support spaces for students, support spaces for faculty, bathrooms, all those kind of things, kind of around these core areas that become really, like I say, the cornerstone of the middle school as we start to develop that overall program. So again, these are starting to take shape. The rest of the building is starting to take shape. We still have a lot of work to do, meeting with faculty and staff here in the summer, particularly when people are starting getting back in the fall and August. We'll be continuing to meet with different stakeholder groups, getting feedback, and both in the middle school and the other projects as well. If you want to go to the next one, Pete.
Yep. So at the elementary school, as Pete mentioned, we're not starting construction there till next summer, but there's been a lot of legwork done thus far and more to come with the engagement sessions and focus groups, and it's been a great process. It really, I think it's an exciting addition here. The sawtooth will be coming down after it's used as kind of a temporary space, but what this new plan is allowing us is a new addition for the Unified Arts Wing, and so it's got a lot of there's science, or there's the art labs, there's the iLab, music and Spanish rooms, and this multi-purpose performance/gymnasium athletic space within here. But what it also does, it's going to create this opportunity and connection to the outdoors, an outdoor courtyard outside of the art classrooms and the iLab spaces. And then much like we're talking about at the middle school, these kind of green areas, we're calling them parks, but we're looking at those as these collaboration zones out in kind of the in-between spaces between the classrooms. So that's what you're seeing here. And these red arrows kind of highlight the connection zones. So over to the right, that's the dining commons, just to kind of give you a point of reference as to where this new addition is in comparison to your existing building currently. And then the next slide, it goes into just a different way to look at this space, but showing how it's creating, as mentioned before, these in-between spaces and areas for collaboration and just differing zones so that these spaces can adapt to the different kinds of teaching and the different opportunities that they afford themselves. I think then if we go ahead, this is the primary school, and this school here, there's going to be, as Pete alluded to, 2 summers of work, interior renovations, and then also a large, or an expanded entrance addition. And so with that new entry addition, that gives a new front door to the school, a new front door, you know, for these new families coming into the district. And it centralizes the administration functions, but then where you see the kind of the purple and the green zones, again, much like the other schools, there's these open opportunities, these kind of areas where there could be some legacy walls, there can be some sensory walls, you know, things, different functions throughout the buildings, but that'll kind of adhere to the varying age levels within them. And then the new, a renovated multi-purpose, an auditorium, and then the dining commons. So the big aspect here in this school, as with the others, but safety and then also accessibility through some of these existing spaces. Here is just another view of looking into this new, again, conceptually, don't think that this is a final design, but just kind of a view of, to show kind of this, we're looking at this new entrance as a gateway, and then these other components where you've got different student services that again are consolidated and located in areas that make it a little more accessible to families that are entering, and then also students and faculty throughout the building.
So I think really just to touch on next steps, people are going to start to see, as I say, as we get into the next month of July and into the fall, as these buildings start to take shape. So we're starting to study now some of the forms and appearances of what the different projects might look like, both on the inside and the outside. We had a couple of really good sessions toward the end of the school year where we were able to get a bunch of different groups together, and we asked them to just think about what Indian Hill means and what they identify with, and we had them create these visual kind of boards that showed different kinds of images of what they thought Indian Hill was all about. So we're taking a lot of that information along with just, you know, studying the buildings that are on the campuses, and what you're really going to start to see is some of the three-dimensional forms and shapes start to take place. Along with, like I say, we'll be going back and talking to a lot of these same groups here in July and August, even into the fall, as we start to finalize some of the program and the planning around these different buildings. Go ahead, Kurt.
Just to add what I think probably is in the mind of many people who are watching this or they're here personally. How if someone says, listen, I didn't even know there was an opportunity to be involved. I really still would like to be involved. I'd like to have my voice heard. What's the best way for that individual member of the community, a student, a parent, or just a community member?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as we get into the, when people are coming back in August, even in late July, there's going to be plenty of opportunities, similar calls for participation like you saw from Melissa's group, but also a lot of the focus groups that have already been set up that were meeting previously. We're going to look at some community forums coming up, I think, in the fall as well. I think we talked about a little bit earlier, Kirk.
Very transparent and do an all-call for some input. We have many stakeholders who have also given some input already, but we want to make sure we give everybody an opportunity. And I think just to emphasize again what Chris and Amy have said, these are concepts, they're not blueprints, nothing is final. We want to collect as much input as possible moving forward. That's how we ultimately get to the best design. And there's going to be plenty of time to do that from August through November of the fall. And we're going to put an all-call out for focus sessions with stakeholder groups. Some will be general, some will be targeted.
It'll actually, interesting in what Melissa was talking about, a similar timeline where we're looking at kind of that October, November, getting into December timeframe, where as the designs are starting to formalize and as some of the things are going on with teaching and learning, you'll start to see those overlaps. So as people are getting involved on the teaching and learning side, you know, they're also getting involved on the design side, so there'll be kind of parallel opportunities happening at the same time. So towards the end of the year, as we're celebrating holidays and things, you know, we'll be able to start to kind of reveal a lot of these design efforts that everybody's been going through. So plenty of opportunities, absolutely.
Other board members' questions at all about the
Yeah, let's just like to thank the project team members for all your hard work. Thank you for being here and presenting tonight.
Well, their work is only just begun. I think we should go back up front. No more laptops.
figure it out.
Thank you. Thanks
Got it?
for your help, yeah.
I'm not actually sure why it's crazy to let me issue it. Right.
I appreciate everybody's patience as we move through a very lengthy agenda tonight. Dr. Hooker, I'd like to move on to the superintendent's report. We have several recommendations this evening, board members. First, under number 7, letter A, we have a resolution for impracticability of transportation to consider. Item B is the approval of an overnight field trip for a men's soccer preseason tournament in Strongsville in the fall, or sorry, this summer.
Mr. Konecki, I just want to emphasize to anybody that's watching this or that's here, all of these attachments are linkable. You can look at them. They're on our website. Everything is transparent. So if you're wondering about what we're voting on, you can look at it now or look at it later. So thank you.
Thank you. Item C is the approval of our updated student handbooks. Just one note here I'd like to point out is that we've taken all of the COVID information and we've kept it in the handbooks but moved it to an appendix in the back section of the updated handbooks this year. Item D, personnel actions, tuition reimbursements, and professional meetings, including the approval of some certified staff members who I will talk about at the end of this report, if that's okay. And then we have under item 2 and 3 some administrative approvals. Also items 4, administrative salaries. Item 5, approval of some non-certified contracts and salaries, including some new staff members who I'll refer to at the end of this report. Item 6, the approval of some third-party payments for teacher mentoring. Item 7 is a contract change for hours. Item 8, approval of some summer help with our moving and transition. Item 9 is the approval of some personal service contracts that we are finishing up from summer work and spring sports work. Item 10 is the approval of our supplementals and service contracts for fall, mostly for athletics and activities throughout the fall, clubs and advisors. Item 11 is tuition reimbursements. Under item 12, we have some retirements and resignations. I'd just like to point out again, I'll come back to a couple staff members at the end here. And item 13, another supplemental approval. So at this time, Dr. Hooker, I would like to ask that you would entertain items 7A, A through D, 12 at this time if there are no questions.
I did have one question.
Yeah.
Just on the, I've got to scroll back. Item number A, typically we have a lot more than the one that's in the attachment for the impracticability of transportation. Is it just that not all of them are up yet?
Kirk, I'll take that one.
Yep.
So this has really become a two-part sort of procedure we have to do. The procedure that's on Mr. Konecki's agenda for this evening is the first part. That's when a parent applies for transportation, payment in lieu of transportation, and then they have the ability to do any appeals and things like that after they first apply. The second part, which will be under my section this evening, is the part we do every June where we pay the entire list. Okay. That list is much more significant than the one we have left on Mr. Konecki's.
Thank you.
It's just a requirement of the law that it be split out, and that's why you're not used to it. We realized we had to split the two out.
And we have had these on prior agendas, so this was another request that came in.
I have a question on number 11. Don't we typically list what the courses are that the staff are taking?
We have the list of the names and their university's attendance, the amount. We can share courses if you'd like to see the coursework.
Thank you.
Nancy, you're just adding that to be added to the minutes? Yes. Okay. Can you take care of that to be added to the minutes? Thank you.
So I would entertain a motion to accept, let's see.
7, 8 through D, 12.
Thank you.
So moved.
Mrs. Eichholz?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnston? Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Singh?
Aye.
Dr. Hooker?
Aye.
Thank you. And then Dr. Hooker, I'd ask that you approve item 7D13 at this time.
I would entertain a motion to accept item D13.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Who was the second?
Mrs. Singh.
Thank you. Mrs. Eichholz?
Aye.
Mrs. Singh?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnston?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis? Dr. Hooker?
Aye.
Thank you. Just a couple notes, Dr. Hooker, before we move on and finish my report. I'd like to welcome our new high school assistant principal as a part of this approval tonight, Mrs. Amy Epperson, who's joining us. Very excited to have her joining our administrative team. She comes very highly recommended and is a seasoned educator who we're looking forward to working with. I'd also like to welcome Eric Samini, who's our new auditorium manager and technical director, who's going to be joining the team, as well as a new position we created this spring of Performing Arts and Activities Director, Ms. Amy Clark, who's going to be joining the team. These are just 3 of the professionals joining tonight that we're really excited about and looking forward with Mr. Samini and Ms. Clark to allow our students and faculty to further expand the marketing, promotion, and celebration of our wonderful performing arts programs K through 12 in a more holistic way. So very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else, Mr. Konecki?
Nope.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
For my report this evening, I have item A is to approve the minutes of the May 11th, 2021 regular meeting and the May 25th, 2021 special meeting. Item B is to approve the financial reports for the month ending May 31, 2021. Item C, there's several construction contracts, and what I've done is I've put the construction contracts under a separate item versus our regular contracts that we do for the regular operations of the district. So under item C, the first item is Skanska USA Building Incorporated. This contract is for the construction manager to perform such duties, including but not limited to budgeting, value engineering, and scheduling, consistent with the owner's program, schedule, and current budget. Fees as dictated by the attachment. Item 2 is the Indian Hill Investors Group 3, LLC. This is for the property lease for 8200 Spooky Hollow Road from June 8th, 2021 through June 7th, 2023. That's a $100 lease for the entire period. This is the property where the administrative buildings will be held or be housed temporarily while we do the construction project. Item 3 is for a construction guaranteed maximum price, or a GMP number 1. This is the middle school make ready package that Mr. Becker alluded to during his presentation. The final budget on that was for $1,149,280.28. Item 4 is MSA Design, the middle school water line relocation. If you remember early on in the project back in February, we went over a pre-bond due diligence and a post-bond due diligence. There were several items that the district decided that was in our best interest to complete even before the bond was went out for vote to the public, so that way we could get the project moving as quickly as possible if we were if the vote was affirmative. These items are post-bond due diligence, as the May 4th ballot was accepted. Those items are for the middle school water line relocation, $35,000. That's the design of that. The MSA design for medium volt distribution construction admin services, that's for $30,000. MSA design for telecommunications data design, technology infrastructure systems, equipment design, security consulting, and design. We had budgeted $290,000 for this portion of the project. I'm pleased to say that that bid came in at $226,642 even. The final one under construction contracts would be for EMOD LLC. These are for our modular classroom units, $775,526. Those units are being moved to the back of the building, and we are beginning to put that temporary schoolhouse together. So that's exciting. And I think what I'll do is I'll stop there, see if there's any questions on construction contracts.
Mr. Davis, is that item number 7? I understand that to be a lease and for what term?
For the 2 years up to the end of the project, if we do need them for extra time, if there should be a delay in the project, we can then negotiate at that point.
2023?
Correct. Yep. That is the full cost, not for the year.
No, that is
the full cost.
Yep.
Do we know at this point how many students those will house?
Mr. Nichols could.
We have approximately 157 graders that will move in and out of those modulars during the course of the day.
We have to make I do the high school with them, right? That's coming to have.
Yeah, they're set up outside behind the auditorium, and we've got direct access into the building right there, so we'll be able to move students in and out of there. Security on both the modular building itself and our campus as well, so we can make sure that all those buildings are secure.
And what are you doing with the 6th and 8th graders?
The 6th graders are going to be housed in the sawtooth. We'll use that for flex space down there. And then our 8th graders are going to integrate up here into our high school. We'll keep them separate within their classes, but they'll use some of the same high school classrooms.
Yeah, just to clarify, Mr. Nichols, clarify this to me. The 7th graders will only be in the modulars for their core. They will be coming into the building for lunch. They will be coming into the building for specials. So they'll be out there some, but they'll also be using the main building.
This building, the high school. So they will be out there, and anybody that has seen these buildings, this is not your old-fashioned modular stuff. These things, you think you're in the nicest building you've ever set foot in. They're heated, cool. It's probably nicer than my house, because mine's having a lot of maintenance, but let's not go there. All right, do we want to continue to read, and then we can vote on everything?
Okay. Under item D is to approve the following contracts. The first one is for Aramark Educational Services. This is food service management at the primary elementary school buildings, school year 2021-22. And I'll read the second one, and then I will discuss them both together. The second one is also for Aramark Educational Services. This is for food service management at the high school and middle school buildings. This is for school year July 1, 2021 through June 30th of 2027. Those years are voidable at the end of each year of the school year. So just to kind of summarize what we did here, our primary and elementary school buildings are on the National School Lunch Program, which means that any child who needs a free and reduced lunch, we will get reimbursement for those dollars from the federal government. Our middle school and high school are no longer on those programs. They've been off for several years. We do allow children to continue to apply for free and reduced lunch at the high school and middle school, and those funds are paid for by the district.
Just for those that weren't around here, we took the high school and middle school off the off of the school lunch program because of the limitations of what the kids could eat. It was severe, and we increased, I don't remember the percentages, I think we went from about 20% participation, isn't that right, Nick, to almost 50%?
That was prior to my tenure when we...
So we more than doubled the participation, because when you stopped serving stuff that was inedible, it was amazing how much better kids wanted to eat it. So.
The question I have for you is, we've been offering free lunch for the primary and elementary school students during COVID. How long does that hold?
So that's a great question. The program is continued for next school year. They have changed it a little bit at the federal level. Your building actually has to be on the National School Lunch Program to qualify. So all of our primary and elementary students will continue to receive free lunches for next school year. However, the middle school and high school will only be students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. Yep. And just a little bit more background on why we're entering into these two agreements. Every 5 years by law, we have to go out and do an RFQ to procure services for a food service management company. We are actually in the 7th year of that 5-year contract. The reason why we haven't done it, we will be in the 7th year next year. The reason we have not done that until now is because of COVID. We were granted an extension by the United States Department of Agriculture, so we did not have to do that RFQ last year. As you can imagine, it would be extremely hard to fairly vet vendors for a food service program if you can't see them in person. So it became very problematic to do it last year. We were then fortunate enough to be granted an additional year. And what has happened is that's because we have so many other things going on in the district, we felt that it was a good opportunity for us to sort of buy some time to get some other things done. We will be required to do that RFQ for next spring. But it also gives Aramark, our current food service provider, an opportunity to impress. What they wanted to do by the second contract was to be able to move some equipment into the facilities so they can, especially I should say at the high school level, to really start to change that cafeteria's feel. They want to improve taste. They want to improve nutrition. They want to do a lot of things that they've sort of have been, I guess for lack of a better term, failing on for the last few years. So that gives them a great opportunity. I think they have taken it and run with it so far. We hope to continue to see improvements in our cafeteria facilities. It's something we're always very attentive of because we know not only do children need to eat during the day so they can continue to be educated throughout the school day, it needs to be nutritious, it needs to be tasteful, and they need to enjoy their lunch period. So those are the things we really want to get to in our cafeteria, and I think Aramark is in the right direction right now. Hopefully they continue the momentum.
So this spring, we're going to do an RFQ.
We will be required to do an RFQ. There's two potential paths we could go. The first being we could simply renew the contract under item 2, which is good through 2027, and put the RFQ out for our primary and elementary school programs only, which are the two programs that are still on the National School Lunch Program.
But we could do an RFQ.
But if we're not happy with Aramark, we could go ahead, we could say we're done, we're going to void the contract, and then we do an RFQ for all 4 levels.
Is there a lengthy notice period to void the
90 days.
90 days.
Yep.
Mr. Davis worked very hard on getting this set up, and because of this, the Aramark has invested considerably in the building and in equipment. So it was a good deal for us, but they absolutely know that we are watching them like a hawk, and we're not going to accept anything but massive improvements.
So continuing with contracts, item 3 is the Hamilton County Educational Service Center. This is a contract on behalf of All Saints. This is for student services and intervention solutions for school year 22. That's a $246,362.20 contract. We will be using the state's auxiliary funds for that item. Item 4 on the addendum is for the Warren County ESC. This is for nursing. This is for student-specific nursing for school year 2022. The amount of that contract will be $75,200. This nurse is replacing one of the nurses we've previously approved that service couldn't provide to us. So this isn't an additional service. Item E is to accept the proposal for commercial casualty insurance from Ohio School Plan, $131,582. Item F is to pay now and then invoices. Waltz Business Solutions for a maintenance supply agreement, $4,000. On the addendum, item 2 is the Cincinnati Center for Autism. It was an extended school year for one of our students, $4,600. Item G is an annual resolution we do. It's to supplement appropriations as needed and to make necessary appropriation budget modifications, including any advances and transfers to close the financial books for fiscal year 2021. A listing will be provided in the minutes when approved. One note I would like to make to this, the biggest change in appropriations, we will be using Fund 4, which is a construction fund. So I will be appropriating the necessary dollars for that and taking all the items that we've spent general fund money out of the general fund and put them in that construction fund. Item H is the approval of fiscal year 2022 temporary appropriations resolution. This is so we can begin to pay the bills in July. Item I is the resolution declaring the impracticability of transportation and offering payment to parents in lieu of transportation. This is, like we said earlier, the item on the treasurer's side where we go ahead and make those payments to those parents who have requested that. Item J, we always like to have this item as the acceptance of our donations. We're always very, very proud and very privileged that our community is willing to invest in the ancillary things that our students need to be successful and to prosper. Item 1 is the IH Foundation to the primary school to teacher Sue Spino so she could purchase character education books. The IH Foundation to the high school on behalf of Sue Savage for some organic distillation sets for chemistry. The IH Foundation to the elementary school on behalf of Alice Bone. This is a ukulele storage cart. Mrs. Bone, she's very proud of this. This is what she did to overcome the recorder sort of problems that we had with COVID, and has now gone to ukuleles. So it's
They're
fantastic.
not going away. They're extremely popular.
Yeah, fantastic change to our program.
She's one. She just comes up with ideas that think out of the box.
Absolutely. The IHPTO donated to the National Honor Society on behalf of Adopt a Senior, $1,500. And the IH Lacrosse Association to the IH Athletic Department for playoff tickets for $750. And that concludes my report for the evening.
Any questions from the board members? Then I would entertain a motion to accept items A through J of the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Johnston?
Mrs. Johnston?
Mrs. Eichholz?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Singh?
Aye.
Dr. Hooker?
Aye.
Thank you. And I want to say thank you again to our construction folks who presented tonight. I can't tell you how much work has gone into the project so far, and we are really just beginning. So we're very excited to get that going and off the ground, and I can't say how proud I am to have the 3 organizations that we have representing Indian Hill Schools.
Dr. Hooker, board members, item 9 is a unique policy update again into our system and has been an addition. It's for the procurement use of asthma inhalers for emergency situations. It will allow our nurses to move forward to get the equipment they need in prior to the school year. So tonight, this is just a first reading, and then we need to move to approve this at our next gathering.
This is so that if a child needs an inhaler and a nurse, and the child doesn't have it pre-prescribed, they can be given an inhaler and help them with their asthma.
Yeah.
So
That's great. What about everything?
that's already done. That's already approved. This was an add-on that was not submitted to the board when we approved all the other Neolas. So we don't need to do anything because it's first reading. Item 10.
Nick, you want to cover that?
Under other business by board administration, we have the second reading of the 2021-22 capital plan. It's very late this year because of the bond initiative. It's also very minimal this year because of the bond, because of the energy lease program. We're doing a lot of things throughout the district in our facilities. These are just some minor things that we need to have done as well, that we will be doing over this summer and then throughout the school year.
And then, do you want to handle B?
I can. First of all, before I go into item B, Ms. Dalton, could you stand up, please? I would like to introduce Doug Dalton. He's with Bradley Payne. Doug, could you just kind of give us an overview of what it is that you provide to the district?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. So we're the municipal advisor to the district. What does that mean? We help with bond issue. We have a fiduciary responsibility to the district. We're overseen by the Securities Exchange Commission and the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board. So everything that we do has the best interest of the district for the advice from the bond issuance, documentations, rating reports, and so forth. So it's been great working with Kirk and Mick so far. We still have quite a bit of work to go but we've done a bond anticipation.
Thank you very much. For those that aren't aware, because this is a total change, change. This is a new person in the markets over the last about 10 years that watches over our interest as opposed to just using a bond counsel, which is wonderful. And so we are making sure we get the best deals. And we certainly did very well. 0.11% is unbelievable for $77 million. I like that.
So the next step in this process is to authorize the issuance of bonds. So that would be the resolution that I asked the board to make tonight. That would be authorizing the issuance of bonds in the amount of not to exceed $77 million for the purpose of constructing, adding to, renovating, remodeling, furnishing, equipping, and otherwise improving school district buildings and facilities, and acquiring, clearing, equipping, and otherwise improving school district building and facility sites, and retiring notes previously issued for such purpose, and authorizing and approving related matters.
So these are the ones that are going out June 29th?
Correct. Yep.
July 29th. These are for the bonds. Yeah, there was a resolution for the bond anticipation. That's what I thought.
So we borrowed money and those go.
The bond anticipation notes, we will get the allocation of that on June 29th. That's the June 29th date. Yep. So $77 million and a little bit of change will be coming to the district on the 29th.
So funny to talk about a little bit of change on 77 million.
So that's what I would like to ask the board to do this evening, is to approve that resolution so we can move forward getting those bonds issued.
I think let's separate those. I probably should have done that already. So could I have a motion to accept item A, the capital plan, second reading?
Second.
I missed the.
Elizabeth
was first.
Johnson and Singh second.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Johnston?
Aye.
Mrs. Singh?
Aye.
Mrs. Eichholz?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Dr. Hooker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion to approve item B.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnston?
Aye.
Mrs. Eichholz?
Aye.
Mrs. Singh?
Aye.
Dr. Hooker?
Aye.
Again, thank you, Lord, for entertaining those resolutions.
Thank you for all of your hard work on all this.
And so now, if there's any public commentary.
So I have the list, Dr. Hooker. The first on the list is Emily Overton.
Okay, and so you have 5 minutes. When you start, come up, please. And then when you start, please introduce who you are and where you live.
Okay.
And thank you for all the people that are going to give commentary. We won't answer back any of the commentary. We'll just take it, record it. If you have it pre-typed out and want to hand it to Mr. Davis, he'll enter it into the minutes.
Okay. No, they're not that.
Okay.
They're scribbling.
That's fine.
That's fine too.
Next time. Hi, I'm Emily Overton. I live at 7575 Indian Hill Road, and I'm here as a concerned parent and community member. Thanks for having me. Actually, I think the introductory topic was a great segue to some of my comments. I'm here to really just advocate for the arts, both the curriculum and the student extracurricular and community projects. And I thought some of the comments in your opening project is that we're here to do things with the community and make sure the stakeholders are engaged in the design. And then also, Mr. Konecki made comments too in some of the projects. You guys want to be transparent and also be responsive, I think, as we're getting feedback. Is that you guys did a great job of being responsive to some of the arts parents when we had a meeting earlier this year asking for an arts director. So really appreciate that you guys have staffed that role to make sure that we can be more in touch with the students' needs and also the needs. So thank you guys for that. I had the opportunity to be part of a Zoom meeting with the design firm, which was great, about a month ago. I think it was on May 26th. And this was a chance to really understand some of the designs that were shown here, but in a little bit more detail, and specifically trying to better understand some of the art space that's part of the school curriculum classes, as well as how it's used after school. And a couple of things I wanted to bring to your attention that I thought would be helpful is, one, I think it'd be great on a project this large, and obviously tough calls are going to have to be made at some point on budget, space, et cetera. There's, there's limits to everything. Transparency in how you're managing the priorities. We got on a slide where there was some space kind of on the gym, near the gym floor, some of the back rooms there that are kind of adjacent to current orchestra and band space, as well as adjacent to some training or sports space. And we happened to land on that design, and there was some discussion like, hey, some of the design options show this as maybe a wrestling practice space. Some of the option could be to use this as more storage for orchestras. Some of the students' instruments are quite large, if any of you play those. And so I think it'd just be really helpful as a district if you guys just are very transparent in the planning. So hey, as we're making decisions, we're thinking about, for example, how many students use the space in a week, and is that space curriculum space or is it after school space? How many days in the year is it used? Is it for just a sport or an activity that may be in one quarter, as an example, versus is it used year round? And I think that would really help just put some objectivity to some of the planning in the space. It may help make those priority calls in a transparent way that doesn't seem like one activity is being favored over the other. And I have 2 daughters in the district who will be in high school. I have a sports daughter and a performing arts daughter, so I kind of get how the district needs to cover everyone's needs. The second piece I ask is really on the communication and planning, and you guys talked about this in your principles of having the stakeholders be engaged in the design. There was some concern when we had the last meeting of whether or not both the teachers who are teaching in the arts, as well as some of the advisors or even students who are using the space after school, if they've really been, integrated into the design in a detailed way. And some examples that were brought up in the meeting was, again, for middle schoolers who are in the orchestra, as an example, who may have large and or expensive instruments. Did they think through how they're going to have to flow through the space as we redesign? Adequate storage, so that students could bring their top instruments to school, because some of these are quite expensive, that kind of thing. As well as in the art space, is it really thinking how that flows? An example of this, one of my students and others are actually using the performance art space for a camp. And some pipes were installed this week that actually interfere with sets moving on the stage as part of, I think I heard, I don't know if this is true, but the HVAC system. And so that just was an indication to me that maybe we don't have as tight of planning with the stakeholders as necessary, and we would hate redesign or rework to happen, because that obviously influences schedule and budget. And so it just feels like this space has a lot of flow through for different activities and maybe needs a more detailed touches with the users of the space. And then the third would be,
Emily,
yeah.
30 seconds.
Okay, sorry.
If you don't mind.
And then just the last piece would be, I think, just on the design, I think making sure people who are kind of experts in using these facilities are well integrated, because it wasn't obvious in the last conversation we had. I understand it's early in the design space, in the design planning. Seemed like maybe there weren't enough experts on the team using this space to make sure that detailed needs were being integrated. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Next, I have George Bell.
Hi. My name is George Bell. My residence is 7419 Briar Patch Lane. I'm a student here. I will be a senior this upcoming year, and this is my first school board meeting, so please pardon me if absolutely nothing that I say makes sense. I've attended school here for, I guess, about a decade, and I feel a sense of loyalty not just to the buildings in the area, but to the community here, to the people that I have worked and learned and laughed aside for, well, basically my entire life. A few weeks ago, I participated in a summer class. I like to participate in performing arts, and this was a class down at Madcap out west. You may have heard of them. And they essentially spend a week preparing you for a mock audition to prepare for that. There were a lot of other kids there, top-notch education stuff, and a well-known local director named Tim Perino also participated in teaching the class. And multiple times throughout my participation in this class, I had people, including aforementioned Tim Perino, mention to me that or, oh, do you go to Indian Hill? Oh, were you in Hello Dolly? Oh, I saw that. That was great. You were great. And I felt really proud, because to me that says that, I mean, we're, theatrically speaking, the envy of the region. I mean, I consider myself something of a theater nut, and even I don't know what they're doing down in, say, Madeira. Earlier this school year, I took a class, AP Gov, and it was one of the hardest classes I've ever taken, but one important thing that I took away from that was civic efficacy. And that civic efficacy is why I came here tonight, because I care about the performing arts here in my community. I also took a class, Theater 2, and we didn't have too many people, so they merged all the theater classes together, and we had a pretty fun time. We don't really have a conventional classroom. We've been using the makeup room down in the auditorium, and when we performed our show, we used the bathrooms as our backstage. And, you know, there's always better options, but we didn't really mind too much on that because we enjoyed it and it mattered to us. It has important to us. That's why we care very much about the result of, well, the passing of this levy. I believe you all will listen to me, and I believe that you care. I wouldn't be up here if I didn't, but I just came up here to remind you that some of us, well, to some of us, this stuff isn't just about a building plan, a budget, or the school's adapting AC system. It's about our friendships and shared memories, our learning and performance experiences in the theater, and it's about the most important part of the most important time of our lives. We put on shows that people we don't even know remember and enjoy. Theatrical performance has that power. I went to see In the Heights in theaters this past weekend, a movie with tens of millions of dollars for a budget, and I still didn't feel that it topped the emotionally moving performance of the show I had seen in years prior at Playhouse in the Park. That's how people feel when they come to see Indian Hill Theater. That's the magical experience they get when they come watch us pile onto a train for Hello Dolly, or perform a dance with some of our teachers for Phantom of the Opera, or sing hits from the 70s and 80s in Mamma Mia. We're doing Les Mis this year, Les Miserables, which is a huge commitment and task. And yet, I'm not afraid, and I'm still certain that with our amazing cast and crew, we will be able to create an amazing performance unlike any other. And we will gladly provide that. We will put on our shows, we'll make our theater department the envy of the region as it has been, and we will have fun doing it. That's why we do it. We are worth investment that you may consider. We will provide the ends. We merely request the means. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Can I just make a comment, Dr. Hooker?
Yes, please.
George, thank you so much. And
27 years of public education, I've never heard such an eloquent speech given by a student at a board meeting. I really, truly appreciate it. And you will be involved, and you will have voice into the design and concept, believe me.
Next on the list, I have Kate Brower-Bell.
Hi, I'm Kate Brower-Bell, and I reside with George Bell at 7419 Briarpath. Thanks for having us voice our thoughts here tonight. I wanted to thank you all for letting powwow happen this year, letting it happen without masks. I mean, and I know that was a huge deal and meant a lot, so thank you so much for that ongoing commitment to the arts and the posting for the position, the hiring of a new arts director. Thank you so much. So I wanted to follow up briefly on some points that I had written down after our meeting with MSA that Mr. Konecki was kind enough to put together for us on the last day of school. Emily Overton has mentioned that. And we had involvement of over 40 families, which for a kind of quickly put together meeting I thought was just great and shows just how much support we have for the performing arts here. The three big topics that I was going to request that you all give some follow-up. The parents asked that we not lose square footage for the performing arts. That's a huge concern, is that some of the designs appeared that we'd be losing square footage instead of gaining it, which is not what we felt like we had voted for when we voted for the levy. So we'd like you to look at the square footage for performing arts. relocating space for a black box that was discussed at length in the meeting. We'd like to see that followed up on. A black box is a small, easily convertible theater space that you could use for classroom space as well. So, for example, George referenced using bathrooms as part of their classroom experience as theater students. I think we can do better than that. A black box could be used as a theater classroom, but could also be used as additional rehearsal space so that the middle school students can be rehearsing while powwow is on the stage. And it would give us a lot of flexibility. I know it has a lot of support from the music and theater teachers, so I'd like to get some follow-up and see, you know, where the board comes out with that. And then Emily said this, so I'll be brief, but making sure we're engaging the stakeholders at every stage. I know some of the teachers have at points expressed some frustration with feeling like they weren't being consulted in the design process, so I want to make sure. When we met with MSA, I believe they thought we had 4 music teachers. So I know not everybody had been involved, so as a parent, I just want to make sure our teachers are getting heard. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kate. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I do have 4 additional names on here with a note that says they're not speaking. I just want to know if anybody else on that list would like to speak.
You don't have to be on the list if you have something you need to say. There's your chance to comment.
I want to mention also, you can always contact Mr. Konecki with concerns, and he is very responsive, and that's why we have him as the superintendent. So don't feel this is your only opportunity to bring these things forward. We need to follow up on all the concerns raised by the speakers. Thank you very much for your time. And if we do not have any other business, the board, I might entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Good to see you.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate you guys all being here.
I will be happy to take it. Hey, thanks for coming. I don't know if you...
Exclusive coverage on the Indian Hill Television Network has been a copyrighted presentation of the